Thanks for staying with us on VSA. Now, imagine pedestrians being asked to use the bridges made available to avoid accidents and to stay safe while they're crossing the roads. But at the same time, these pedestrians get robbed, get threatened, and even harassed into releasing money. I'm sure it's not out of place to say that people are now left with no choice than to choose between the devil and the deep blue sea. Well, in a bid to curb this, officials of the Lagos State Environmental Sanitation Corps have dislodged miscreants and beggars occupying pedestrian bridges in the state. The State Commissioner of the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, disclosed this on his X handle. Now, according to Wahab, the enforcement followed complaints from the public concerning the activities of the miscreants and the beggars, which discourage pedestrians using the bridge. Some people have said that it is not exactly fair to take people off the bridge. I don't know why that is, but a lot of people think that it makes other pedestrians feel safer. That said, joining us to have this conversation is Colonel Yomi Dare. Is the MD and the Chief Executive Officer, International Masters Security Systems as well. Thank you, Colonel Dare, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Blessing, for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you join us. Thank you once again. Now, Colonel Dare, first I'm going to start by asking, how do you feel about dislodging miscreants and beggars from the pedestrian bridges in Lagos to make other pedestrians safer?
It's a mixed feeling. Mixed feeling in the sense that some of the people you find staying under the bridges, it is not as if it's a choice that they have made, but it's just because most or some of them don't have any alternative to that. So they just hang in there and they try to make a living since they don't have anywhere to go to. And for some other people, it's just like a den for them to carry out their criminal activities. So on the whole, I think to err on the side of caution, it's a welcome idea for the Lagos state government to come up with this dislodgements, taking them out there, because a lot of people have been robbed from under these bridges. So you find all sorts of characters. People are there, selling drugs. People are there smoking, weeds and all whatnot. So the pedestrians, innocent pedestrians, for the risk of danger to their lives and properties, they have abandoned these bridges. But at the same time, we have some pedestrians too who don't have the patience to go over these bridges, and then they prefer to just take the shortcut by jumping on the road, endangering their lives and the lives of other road users. So looking at it, I think it's a good thing that the government has embarked on this. But let me also quickly say here, it is not enough for the government to take these people, these miscreants, so-called, and beggars out of these places. Where are they taking them to? Have they made alternative arrangements for them? So this is one area that needs to be looked at. And again, it's not enough to carry out this exercise for once, flush them out of the place. It has to be followed through. It has to be a sustained strategy. I give you an example, how well lit are some of these bridges. In order to deter activities of criminals, there's need for areas like dark spots to be well lit and to be covered with CCTV cameras so that these cameras are monitored from a central control room, such that before these crimes are even perpetrated, such criminals or suspects are immediately brought to book. So what I'm saying in effect is that if we cannot readily provide CCTV cameras to cover those places, then they can deploy personnel there such that because the moment you take those people out and you turn back, before you even get to your destination or your base, they are back there. So there's need to deploy security men to cover these spots so that these people don't come back here. Don't come back and continue to perpetrate their trade. So that is just my own humble opinion about the whole of this exercise.
Right.
And of course, we all know what is going on right now in the country. Times are really, really hard.
Yes.
Even before this time, people have to leave their homes and, trade in little things, to survive.
Right.
And that there are people who are even professional beggars. Their own trade is to beg, to live.
All right, Colonel
So
Dare,
now that you're taking them out,
apologies.
What alternative are you provided for them?
Right, apologies. Yeah. Since we're still talking about those who are begging and trying to make ends meet, now we see a lot of people under these bridges or on top of these bridges, as the case may be, and understandably so. Like you just said, the times are hard. People are trying to make a living, and whichever way that they can is understandable. But then again, we need to bear in mind that those people who harass people, who go to the length of robbing people, on these bridges and under these bridges, making it unsafe for pedestrians, are also among these beggars. So we understand that it is a welcome development for the government to do so, but some people still are of the opinion that they should have been able to filter these people out of it. I'm going to ask, was there an alternative way to have filtered these people, bearing in mind that they are part of them, right? Those people who molest and harass people are part of these beggars. Was there a way, an effective way to have filtered them out so as not to send people trying to, look for their daily bread out of there as well?
That would be a tall order. That would be a difficult thing to do. Just like even the angel, like they say, doesn't know the intention of the devil. Some people by day they are sheep, and at nightfall they are demons, they are monsters. So if the exercise is going to be sustained, it has to be holistic. They have to get them out of the place. They have to get them out of the place. So it is not even proper. By the time people start living under the bridge, it's not as if the bridges under the bridges are that conducive. It's not as if they are healthy. People defecate there. They do all sorts of manner of things there, and then people can easily contract diseases there. So it's not right, for humans to remain in such deplorable conditions. So it behoves on the government, to see how they can alleviate these conditions. Okay, by providing housing, by providing an environment that can sustain even a modest living. So that's what I see here. Because how do you filter? How do you say, oh, this one is a genuine beggar? He's just here begging for money to feed himself and feed his family. We've had cases where people who are beggars are drug peddlers. They deal in drugs, and they are accessories to crimes. They commit a lot of heinous crimes. We've seen it all over, and it's not only in Nigeria alone. It's all over the world. And some of them, they want to use the excuse of their handicap, to make people to curry for sympathy, and yet, perpetuate their dastardly acts. So for me, I don't think that is the right way to go. Thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you for that. Now, talking about the safety of pedestrians and those who ply the road generally, Are we saying now that getting rid of these miscreants from the road is enough to ensure their safety? I mean, if the miscreants are not there, if these beggars are not there, present there when the pedestrians are passing by, there's a possibility that someone else is following them as they're passing, because sometimes these bridges are overhead and then there probably are no street lights to even, shine the light to their path or something. So most of the time they're walking on those bridges in darkness. So there's a possibility that someone else is following them from where they're coming from. So basically my question is that enough to secure the pedestrians?
Well, Blessing, I already I mentioned earlier that that it's not enough to get these pedestrians out of this place. That one, the pedestrians can still find their way back there, and then secondly, you can still have some criminals who stalk people, and follow them and carry out some dastardly acts. But the way to go is to provide CCTV cameras. We can provide solar CCTV cameras under these bridges or over these bridges, such that the places are well lit, And when places are well lit, I mean, it's just natural that people find it difficult to carry out criminal activities. And it's not enough to put these cameras there. These cameras will be monitored 24/7 from a safe haven, from a control room. And aside that, the security personnel should be posted. They should be deployed, around these bridges. They should walk on shifts around the clock. You see, as far as I'm concerned, there shouldn't be any restriction on human or on pedestrian movement 24/7. Anyone all over the world, you can wake up in the middle of the night and you have a journey to embark on. Depending on what time you want to catch your flight or what time you want to catch your transports. Okay, so it's not enough. There should be coverage. There should be the places must be protected. And it's because these places are not protected. That's why you have these miscreants, going to lodge in there, going to use the places as their homes, and their safe haven to perpetrate their crimes. You go under the bridges, you find people, even the whole family living under the bridges. I mean, that shouldn't be at all. That's an eyesore. It's not the right way to go.
Mm. Now, we do understand that there are pedestrians who already live in fear, especially people who have experienced the harassment, especially people who have gotten robbed, on these bridges. And those people would rather cross the road, the express, 10 times over than, go through the bridges. So whether or not these miscreants are taking off the bridges, how do we now ensure that we, revive the trust that we have in these bridges, for the pedestrians? Because a lot of them already do not trust these bridges. So how do we ensure that, or how do we communicate to them that the bridges are now safe? That's if, hopefully, we can get the miscreants completely, off the bridges. How do we communicate to them that it's best to go through the bridge than cross the expressway, which makes it more unsafe for them?
Well, that's very simple, and part of it is what's your media, your media, the television, the radio, and all other social media, including posting the information. You see, because information enlightenment, public, you embark on public enlightenment jingles. Even in motor parks, in garages and all whatnot, on radio, on television, and then showing sketches, enlightening the public on the dangers of just jumping and crossing the roads, and also letting the public know that this bridge these bridges are safe now. You can move, pass through them 24 hours, any time of the day or night, and that there are security men, there are cameras placed there to cover you, and all these miscreants have been flushed out of the place. So I think these are part of the ways. And then, of course, all those areas where the pedestrians cross the roads through, you post people there too, to ensure that they don't just jump on the roads and cross the roads, because that's even so dangerous, endangering their lives, endangering the lives of other road users. So I don't think it's acceptable. And then, of course, that is not also justifying, all the resources that have been put in place, to construct these bridges. Yes.
All right, Colonel Dami, before you go, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are your hopes, right, in terms of the general expectation from the government and the time frame? What do you hope that we can achieve in terms of securing these bridges for pedestrians?
Well, it's just want me to continue to repeat myself. I mean,
no, I'm talking on a personal basis now, from your own expectation.
There's nothing personal here. I'm here and then talking, giving you my time, in the interest of the general public, because for me, who knows, maybe the next person that gets into an accident or gets, robbed in any of these bridges could even be a relation, but even aside that, all I'm interested in is the general security and well-being of the general populace. So I heard you the other time. You said you were a victim of this, and sorry about that. And thank God that you are alive to tell your story. So that's just it. It's not a question of putting me on the spot. I expressed my feelings and say the way it is. That's it.
All right, thank you so much, Colonel Dare. We're really hoping that the government can hasten this up. We are, appreciative that we're seeing improvement in terms of making sure that people are secure, and not just in their houses now, and not just on the express roads, but even on these bridges. And thank you so much for your time, and of course your inputs as well. Colonel Yomi Dare, MD, CEO, International Master Security Systems. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Blessing. And you have a wonderful day. Good Valentine.
And you too. And you too. Thank you so much. All right, you're still watching VSA. When we come back, we're going to be looking at what's happening in Liberia. The women, wives supposedly of military workers, most especially, are complaining that their husbands are not being treated right, and they're asking for their husbands to be treated well. And because of that, the new defense minister in Liberia has tendered his resignation just 10 days after being appointed. You don't want to miss this one. Stay with us. You're still live with us on VSA. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now let's go to Liberia. The country's new defense minister on Monday resigned from his post just 10 days after being appointed. And this follows a protest by soldiers' wives, according to the presidency. Now, this resignation marks the first political crisis facing Liberia's new president, Joseph Boakai, because you remember his inauguration was just at the end of January. Now, in his resignation letter, Prince Johnson cited the current political and civil disturbances occasioned by the protest of women believed to be the wives of servicemen. Now, wives of Liberian soldiers set up roadblocks near the capital, Monrovia, and elsewhere in the country, forcing Boakai to cancel planned National Army Day celebrations. The women were airing multiple grievances, ranging from low salaries and low pensions to a lack of social security, electricity shortages, as well as corruption within the armed forces. They are also demanding the defense minister's resignation, blaming him for a reduction in the salaries of Liberian soldiers returning from peace missions in Mali. Well, that is a dire situation in Liberia. And joining us to have this conversation is Professor Adam Kine, International Human Rights Advocate, Monrovia, Liberia. Thank you so much, Professor Kine, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Along the line, we're hoping that we can also have Honorable Clarence Cole, politician and activist, also a former candidate of Parliament, National Youth Chair, Liberia. We do hope that he can join us before the session ends. But in the meantime, Professor Kine, You know the updates. What are your thoughts on especially the resignation of the defense minister just 10 days after he was appointed, especially how the whole situation affects him and him being blamed for what's happening with the military men?
Well, all I can say to this is I think it was an honorable gesture and engagement by the Minister of Defense to maintain and uphold the peace that we have enjoyed over the period of time in Liberia. Well, as it appears, it's obvious that a current investigation is being conducted. So until then, what I would say is that I think he did the honorable thing to prevent any sense of hostility or further protestation within the country that will trigger other stuff that we did not anticipate. So I think the minister did exceptionally well to have resigned. That was honorable to me in my perspective, because most leaders would not do that. They would try to be adamant and not only adamant, but be more about themselves and not about the nation. But I think he did it in the welfare of the nation, which is sagaciously portrayed of a man with peace and honor.
But how do you think that this resignation and the entire chaos at hand reflects on the president's new administration?
I think it's wisdom in my perspective, because when you are dealing with militaries, especially the first class citizen, and when you are dealing with military, these are the people that defend the country. These are the people that hold arms and protect the country from external and eternal forces. So I think that was a complete wisdom used to mitigate anything that could have occurred within Liberia that would stabilize the peace of the country. And I think that was a wisdom used, because when you have army wives coming up, it is a suggestion that the husbands are in favor of what they are doing. So I think using the wisdom that the president used was the best thing. It wasn't, he wrote a speech afterward, accepted the resignation of Prince C. Johnson, who also is a military man, who knows all military strategy and what may have uncovered, and he took the rightful decision. So I think the president may have heeded to advice from his council, his National Security Council, and that's why he took. So it's not anything of weakness. I don't see it as a sense of weakness. I think the peace of Liberia is more important than anybody else or anything else in the country.
Right. Now, I would like to find out, has this always been the situation with the servicemen, or is it just a recent development? Or is it that the wives just became aggrieved and got tired of the whole thing and decided to protest?
Well, I mean, there are unique circumstances where we have had military protests relative to the paid and whatever. So this is not the first time we've heard it. So this something that has been part of the history of Liberia in many cases. But I think this is the first time we see that the military pushed their wife in the front line to be advocates or to come and protest in the street. According to the president, letter, the speech that he read to the Liberian people, that the military wives told him that their husband sent them. So which obviously suggests that the husband were part of it. So I think that's why the need for a thorough investigation is really necessary. And in the next 2 weeks, there will be some level of investigation that will go on to know what is the whole ordeal of this protest, because it went beyond protests where major roads were blocked. They were blackish to major roads leading to the airport, leading to other parts of Liberia. So it was strategic if you were to look at the context in which the protests were going on. The military barrier is this way, but protest is going on that way, this way, and that way. So I think it was strategic. So I think the wisdom used was to mitigate any form of hostility, maintain the peace that we all have enjoyed. And I think that my intake to that. But until then, we can wait for the investigation. What's really all this is about.
Now, I think the issue goes beyond the resignation that we're talking about. Aside the resignation, what exactly can this new administration do, to at least listen to the cries of the wives of, the servicemen? Some of the things that they said they had lamented about is the issue of low salaries, low pensions, social security, and corruption within the armed forces. What can be done, to handle that situation?
Well, this is again, these are all what you have mentioned, all unique ills in society within a country. So it's not like they are the only people that are experiencing low salary. They are not the only people that are experiencing corruption, what have you. But taking the bold step is good. But what intention? What are the intention? What are they? What was the intention behind that? Because the entire nation is struggling with corruption. The entire nation is struggling as well from low salary, poverty, and what have you. So, what is the intention of the protest? I think that is what needs to be investigated to know why it went on. I think that is very significant and very important.
Okay, and well, looking at the grievances aired by the protesting women, what would you say the disposition of the rest of the citizens are towards this? Do you think that they're in support of the women's, protests, or do you think that they believe that the women shouldn't have gone that far?
Well, I think everyone has different perspectives. As for me, if you would have asked me for my personal opinion, it is good to exercise our democratic rights, which of course it is constitutional to go out and protest. But when it is done in ways that it blocks the movement of others, then that becomes problematic. Then it's not democratic again because democracy does not infringe on other rights while your rights is maintained. So it is good that we all can protest. And I appreciate the women coming out to protest, but I think they went to the extreme when you have road blockage so that other people can now move because you're trying to exercise your rights. And that, in my perspective, will be, I think, problematic. But I think Liberian women we have lived in a patriarchal society, which is African society where it's been patriotic, and then having women to exercise their rights is a very good thing to do. But when your right is infringing on somebody's right and others' right, then it's no longer democratic. It becomes more coerced or something like stopping others and why you take on your rights. So I think that's my perspective. But I appreciate, I would hold us exercising our democratic rights to vote, to protest, to advocate, to speak to the power that be. But when it is done in a way that it obstructs the entire nation well-being, a lot of money, people lose money just for the protest. There were people who could not make it for their flight, international flight. There were international guests that were in the country that could not get to the airport to travel, so they missed their flights. And then there were other people that were going out into the interior. There were people who were sick, needed to go to the hospital, and you have a whole black. So what happened to those who died? Even though there are not incidents of people dying that we have heard of, but there could be because you block the entire road to the hospital to every place. It could be a problem.
Right. Now, looking beyond this particular protest now, it's, it's inevitable to say that the president, Joseph Boakai, and his administration has inherited a truckload of, certain challenges here and there, and this is just one of the many. How would you say that the administration is handling the situation? Because every government, every new government inherits a baggage, sort of. So how would you say the government is handling this?
As we can, from what is unfolding in the country, I think what we are seeing in the country is that most of the positions that have been occupied by people who are experts, people who know what they are doing. And I think having professionals occupying spaces that they are good at, the expectation is we are expecting some level of results and we are expecting some level of impact that will affect these areas, and we are hoping that it can help to alleviate some of the stressors and some of the problems that we have had over the years. However, I would suggest that this government just came to power, not even 3-4 weeks yet. So I think we cannot do any evaluation. We cannot evaluate outcome at the moment. But I think what we are seeing, those who have been placed into position, are strategic. So these are people who know what they are doing, and we hope that they will live up to whatever mandate that they have been appointed to do. And so that, in my estimate, is what I'm seeing new, that there are people who are trained, and it is diverse, people from the states, people from Liberia, locals and international, not international, but Liberian abroad, diaspora Liberian, are now flowing into the country to help with the reconstruction of the country. So that's a little semblance of, of development, in my perspective, of different engagement other than what we have seen in years past.
Right. Now, very quickly, assessing the level of acceptance by Liberians, towards Boakai's administration, how well would you say that the people have warmed up to the new administration? Would you say that they're accepting him? Because most of the times we see that, especially in African countries, new presidents tend to face the challenge of, people not exactly, because of the trust issues in the past, people not exactly trusting them and their judgments. So would you say that Liberians are embracing the new administration? Okay, unfortunately, I think that we have lost Professor Kine, but in the meantime, that's what the update currently is. The wives of the servicemen are saying that their men are not treated fairly, especially those who have been on a mission in Mali and then coming back to see that the salaries have been reduced. And even though this resignation has happened, the women are not exactly pleased until something is done about the situation. I mean, military people are people who deserve to get their flowers, and having this protest and seeing that some Liberians are also in support of the women. As you can see, the roads have been blocked, and not just the women now, but some men are also saying that give these servicemen their dues. So beyond the resignation, they're looking to see what the government will do in terms of ensuring that their pay is good, in terms of ensuring that they get what is due them, because the women are lamenting certain things. Including electricity shortages, social security, the lack of social security, low salaries and pensions, and as well as corruption. There's a game of politics, according to the women, in the military. So they are asking that the government does something about it, regardless of the fact that President Boakai is just, a few weeks, into the game. People are looking to him to see what he will do and how he will turn this situation around. But in general, according to what Adam Kine has said, that there is a level of acceptance from Liberians, for the new president. Like we see in African countries, a lot of times new African presidents tend to have to defend themselves, defend their positions, and prove that they deserve to be in that position. So every Liberian at this point and every other African country is looking to Boakai's administration to see what he does regarding the situation. And in the meantime, we do hope that at least the roads are freed up, because it's causing a lot of congestions, and it's hindering movement in Liberia. I want to give it one more try to see if we have Adam Kine, so I'll just ask for his final thoughts. Professor Kine, are you there?
Yes. I mean, I'm sorry about that.
All right, that's fine. Very, very quickly, what are your expectations from this? How do you hope that the administration can navigate through this problem?
Well, I think having to investigate what's going on is very pivotal to the future of this country, because there could be a possibility that the police wives will also come out, fire service wives will come out, or minister wives will come up, and anybody could push their wife in the front line to advocate. So I think there needs to be a thorough investigation and clarity to the Liberian people. Why is this going on? Is that the only reason? What is the primary objective of this entire protest that have disrupted a national celebration? So I think the investigation needs to be thorough and open to the public, so that the public knows what's going on, so that we don't have another protest. Other I call it mutiny, but I don't think it's a mutiny. So just to mitigate that, I think there needs to be an investigation, a real investigation from even outside sources. so that they investigate the whole thing.
All right, Professor Adam Khan, international human rights advocate, Monrovia, Liberia. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on the issue in Liberia. And we do hope that it's rectified in no time. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. We've come to the end of Village Square Africa. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We have discussed two essential, very vital issues, especially in Liberia, and of course, taking a look at what also is happening in Nigeria. We would implore you to join our subsequent episodes as we tackle more issues as they affect the African continent, and of course, even global issues as well. Thank you for watching. I'm Blessings Mosugu. It has been VSA.